Welcome and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today we're going to take a look at King of Kentucky 2019 15-year-old.
Yes,
Dustin, this particular one is Barrel 7, Rick 36, Warehouse K, Location 5, bottled on 5/14, distilled on 5/14/2004. This is your first time visiting my whiskey channel. Know that this is my favorite bourbon of all time. We've done 2 of them before, and we're going to go through Dustin's murder row of about 5 or 6 King of Kentuckys and tell you which one is the best of what I have often called the best bourbon of all time.
Yeah.
Dustin, why is this whiskey so good?
Mike, it's cast strength. It's a single
Why?
barrel.
Yes.
It is aged significantly.
15 years in heat-treated warehouses, yes?
Yes, heat sink warehouses. So where they get additional aging cycles, thanks to the fact that they're basically artificially aging the whiskey in a way.
Dustin, is that cheating?
You know, who cares? If it tastes good.
Agreed. All right, so here's this beauty. Every King of Kentucky is a different barrel. So they're all single barrels. So we brought you one that was like a 67% ABV one. This one is 63.6% ABV. Again, age statement, 15 years, non-chill filter. This is bottle 2 of only 108.
Which actually makes that one of the biggest
Releases.
barrels that they had. There have been barrels, Mike, as low as 5 bottles.
Do you have any of those?
No, those are a little hard to get.
No, do better.
Those are the ones that go $3,000-$4,000 secondary.
Yeah, this is the one bottle where I asked Dustin, hey man, if you can find this here or there, whatever, pick me one up or 2 up. Being that it's so hard to get, he tells me no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is the bottle I go to a store and I go, you have it? What do I have to do to buy one? I have to spend $1,000 today? Take that shelf, let's go.
Date your sister, I don't care.
Yeah, what do you want?
What do you want?
Joyride in the car? Let's go.
Look at that color, Dustin. Darker than most bourbons. Rich, like muddy caramel.
Again, guys, look at the bottle. I mean, that is so dark. That is so dark.
Such a dark bourbon. Old whiskey. And I tell you what, it comes off right away. So old.
I mean, again, I bring up varnish occasionally on these older whiskeys.
Mm-hmm.
That is the dominant note for me here is wood varnish. Then I pick up tobacco. Then I pick up leather. I mean, at that point, I then start thinking, Mike, there's some fruits here. I'm not sure what fruit they are because they're so antique, but there might be some apples. There's definitely some wood smoke. There's barrel char. Oh my God, there's a little bit of nuttiness, like a burnt cashew and an almond. I mean, Mike, there's so much vanilla here. And everything is just balanced in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way. Oh, look at the legs, guys. Just look how gorgeous that looks, and they're just still going. I mean, just amazing. Mike may need 20 minutes here, guys. There might be a cut right about now.
I'm sorry, miles away. I ask you to bring this whiskey every time you come up here.
Yeah, I don't.
I know. When you do, it's a good day.
It is.
I called you this morning. I wanted King of Kentucky. And I was like, you know what? I'm just not interested in drinking poor whiskey today. I want to drink epic whiskey all day. We did Balvenie tons, 1401s, 1509s. We're going to do Taliskers and Kalila 30s and Springbanks.
I had a box packed. I was ready to go. Mike sends me a text. Game plan changed. All epic whiskey. And I'm like,
all epic whiskey, call me before you come here. I just woke up today like, you know what? I feel good.
Yeah.
Got a haircut, worked out twice. I was like, you know what? I want to drink epic whiskey today. And when I think of epic whiskey, even being a Scotch guy, I think King of Kentucky, Dustin.
Well, you remember the first time we got together, Mike. You pull out Balvenie 25, Laguna 25. You had a couple other hitters.
Talisker cast strengths.
Talisker, cast strengths. You had the Talisker 30-year-old.
Lagavulin 24.
And I brought up with me a Linkwood 37-year-old. I brought that Klein Leach Select Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
I brought a couple of extremely epic Cavalons, and I brought the King of Kentucky. And you looked at me and you're like, why did you bring this bourbon?
Bourbon, huh?
Yeah. And I said, look, let's pour glasses, set them over there. We'll come back at the end of our drinking session.
That might have been the best whiskey of the day.
And yeah, you're sitting there, you're raving over that Linkwood 37. You're just shocked at how good it is. And I said, Mike, are you not picking up the same notes from the oak on the Linkwood as you're picking up on this King of Kentucky?
There is just a dusty oak woodiness to this whiskey that I've only gotten in one Scotch and no other bourbon. I mean, every one of those descriptors you said earlier, I agree with all of them, but they are so rich in this whiskey. This is the apex of richness in a bourbon.
Yeah. And I don't know that I would call this dusty. So we recently had a chance to have, I think, the second or third release of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Yes.
And there was this dusty element on it that makes you think of kind of old world, older
furniture,
bourbons. And it's absolutely on here. But neither of those were truly dusty bottles, but they have that characteristic.
Sure.
And I don't know what causes it. I don't know where it comes from. These are two different distilleries. They're two different rick houses, completely different aging process, but boy, oh boy, do they both somehow get it.
It's not as obvious of an element as it was in those old Elijah Craigs that we were drinking with Mash and Drum. Great whiskeys, by the way. Good guy. He lives here locally too, so check out his bourbon channel sometime, Mash and Drum, if you haven't heard of him. He's a big YouTuber. 50,000 or so.
He's around on 50,000, and he started doing a little more Scotch, so he's now becoming a full whiskey reviewer.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, he's had some epic bourbons. We were visiting him last week, and those Elijah Craig old, cast strength. What were those, single barrels? Is all those words?
No, they weren't single. They were just, I think they did one batch a year though, instead of doing 3. So maybe they were able to be a little more selective.
Yeah, I think 2014 was my favorite version of what that was. But but the difference here is, that was one of the 3 dominant notes on that whiskey. Where this is just a compliment to this. This is how rich. This is just an embarrassment of riches when it comes to bourbons, because it has everything you'd want a bourbon to have. It has caramel, it has that sweetness. It has that kind of that dusty oak note to it, and a few things like that. But again, all the flavors are so turned up. I hate saying it to people because I don't want to keep driving the price up, but these are ridiculous at this point anyway.
Yeah.
Ridiculous price. But
$1,200.
Yeah, I don't secondary market because you can't get them, but I've told everybody, this is, if you want to really experience what a true high-end bourbon is, it is this and everything else.
Yeah.
And specifically this year, 2019 to 15 year.
Yeah,
wow.
there are a couple other bourbon options out there, and they're going to be actually more expensive, and they're not as complex, but they might hit a note that you like more.
Dustin, I don't know about you, but I've had over 1,000 different whiskeys in my life. When you're just talking Canadian whiskeys, Japanese whiskeys, Scotches, bourbons, Kevlin, I've had well over 1,000 whiskeys in my life. This is one. If I was on a desert island and can bring 10 bottles of whiskey, I would bring a 2019 15-year-old King of Kentucky. It is that unique and excellent of an experience that is just.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time I had this.
Blows my mind.
I'd been kind of been seeking out older bourbons, and there was a couple years ago. It was really hard to get bourbon with a 12-year age statement or higher. Really hard. You had Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, which wasn't easy to get. And then you had a couple other things that you had to hopefully win a lottery for, and it was kind of a tough time with the exception of, I guess, Knob Creek, single barrels. They were putting out a lot of 15-year-old stuff. And I remember I had this at a tasting, and I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God, that's everything I remember about classic bourbon, and so much more. And then I won a raffle to buy one that day. Good day.
Good day. I tell you what, thank God more people don't know about this. And I disagree. I've had older E.H. Taylors. I've had older bourbons, older Pappies, things like that. I had Pappy 23 and 15, 10 years ago. It is not this.
No. Like I said, this is everything those were and so much more.
This is...
Because those were boring bourbons, Mike. Like, you get past the age, the super, sweetness mixed with a lot of oak. They're simple bourbons. The Pappy 23 is not cast strength. The 15 is not cast strength. The 20 is freaking low proof.
Agreed.
No E.H. Taylor. Except
I'm just saying, I've drank old bourbons that were, old distillate, things that were ancient whiskeys. Nothing. I would love to have anything next to it. I have never had a bourbon that came close to this.
Well, we did cast strength bourbon with serious age just wasn't a thing 10, 20 years ago. And this one's so much richer. This is, because again, a lot of those bourbons were trying to be very easy drinking. They were trying to appeal to a massive number of people because...
Makes sense. That is profitable.
Well, also,
that's profitable.
Yeah, well, not just that, but back then, bourbon they were struggling to sell it, period.
Agreed.
So if they make 1,000 bottles of something, they're worried they can't sell 1,000 bottles. Now it'll sell in 5 seconds. So this is just so much... This is connoisseur whiskey with the richness, the deepness. This is spicy. This is not, a kid's cereal. This is not over the top sweet.
Yeah, this isn't a whiskey everyone can even tolerate.
No, this is intense. This is spicy. I mean, this is not. If I gave this to, say, my dad, who's been a bourbon drinker his whole life, he would struggle with the proof.
Yeah, I get it.
The density, how spicy it is. He'd probably still like it.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, it would be like a, whoa, that's not my bourbon.
It would be someone who said, "Give me some water, or give me an ice cube."
Yeah.
That's what would follow next.
For a majority of bourbon drinkers, if you drink that way, this is going to be a tough bourbon to get into.
But if you like cask strength whiskey,
yeah.
If you like Elijah Craig barrel proof, if you like cask strength Lagavulin 12, if you like aggressive, strong cask and oak, well, same thing, oak driven, well aged whiskey that is super aggressive, this is your party.
Yeah.
And again, these are my favorite whiskeys. To me, I remember the first time you told me about this whiskey, I was like, that's a bold statement. Name-wise, you know it isn't.
Yeah, no.
No, it isn't. You know, Lafroig says on their whiskey, the most flavorful Scotch whiskey made. I get it. I get with him. No one's really debating that.
They've got a case.
Yeah, they've got a case. King Kentucky's a bold statement. Bold statement. It's like wearing number one if you're an athlete.
Yeah.
It's a bold statement. You better bring it.
Well, you know, Mike, as far as I know, Brown-Forman, big company, lots of brands.
Yeah.
Only one bottle do they put Brown-Forman on and not anybody other brand. This is Brown-Forman.
They're proud of this.
They are proud.
You know, I was having this conversation with one of my Canadian buddies, the Montreal Whiskey Assassin, and we're talking about doing things with love. We're talking about cooking. But we were talking about doing things with love, and you can tell craftsmanship. You can tell when someone did something. I don't care if they're detailing a car or they're doing paperwork for a mortgage loan. When someone puts every bit of effort and detail into what they're doing, it shows. And I'm not saying it's worth it. I'm not saying they get what they just deserve out of making sure every step was perfection. But man, if you're someone who can appreciate it,
yeah,
you appreciate it.
Mike, I think of this as a halo project. You know, historically, like with cars, right? You put out this awesome sports car and you lose money on it. But you put it out there because you want people thinking about how freaking good your brand is when they do everything right.
Because you want the best you can do.
Yeah.
Because you want the best possible.
And also, you just want to show off, like, this is what we can do.
You know, my dad was an engineer.
Yeah.
His dad was an engineer. When they did something, I don't care what it was, finish the basement or put up a patio in the back. Like, it was a big deal. They got everything square, everything level. The perfection of doing it correct, because that was their craft, was more important than aesthetics, let's say.
Makes sense, yeah.
Doesn't matter what it looks like. This is perfection. This will last, blah, blah, blah. If you're a whiskey maker, you're a craftsman.
Yeah.
You should be. Obviously, you're there to make money. But in your heart, someone there has to know, I want to make this as good as I possibly can. I want to make the best version of something.
To me, this is art, more so than craftsmanship.
I think, yeah, we're exactly.
Yeah, like, I mean, to me, this is like the person who, you know, painstakingly, you know, hand stitches the seats in a car. Because, yeah. No, it's in a McLaren F1.
Or whatever.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is like, again, this is the halo.
Like, look, they're paying for your best. Give me your best.
Yeah,
give me your Michael Jordan best.
Yeah, this is the Ferrari Enzo. This is the Porsche GT. It's that, you know, that now sells for $1 million. It's a car like that where people over time realize, wow, this is a whiskey that over time people have discovered is wow. I
think 20 years from now, they'll look back and think this is the best whiskey of this generation of bottlings, where a lot of people are taking it serious. It's that, and again, we are super gushing here.
Yeah.
But we are not people that this is our first whiskey or even our 100th whiskey. We have ran the gamut. We're not young guys.
No.
You're younger than me. But we're not young guys. We've been running the gamut of what great whiskeys are for a long, long time. This is absolutely something extra special.
I mean, I was buying $100 bourbons in my early 20s, Mike.
Yeah,
This is not something I just started doing.
No. It's like, ooh, look what I found. No, it's not like that. It's not like we're gonna come back 2 or 3 years from now and say, oh, we were really impressed with this whiskey, but now I'd call it an 88. No. This is the real deal.
We have been drinking whiskey more than a decade and been drinking good whiskey.
I have repeatedly put my whiskey reputation, whatever that's worth, on the line and told people who are serious buyers, look, if you're going to get into bourbon, you really want to know an excellent bourbon. These are Scotch guys. This is the one.
Yeah.
Hey, but Mike, it's over $1,000. You know, on these secondary markets and these secondary sites. I said, yeah, and it should be.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what you're getting. This is a $1,000 bottle of whiskey all day.
Biggest mistake we ever made, Mike. These were going $600 secondary, and we didn't buy 10 of them.
Yeah, at the time.
should have just been like, yep, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're going to pay $1,200 to $1,400 for this bottle now.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. It's still worth it.
It's unbelievable how worth it. I mean, again, there's just so much depth on this. Actually, it's funny, Mike. I drink King of Kentucky very sparingly anymore. But
it's like pulling teeth get you.
I did have a small pour last night of a different bottle than this one.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Did you, sir?
I did. It's on video. I was just going to watch it. And it was my least favorite of all the King of Kentuckys I have, by far.
With the 14 year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the 2020. Yeah, all the 2019s are bangers. You have what, 5?
Yeah.
Okay, this is our second one. We'll bring you all 5.
I have 4, actually.
Bring you all 4.
Unless somebody wants to send me one, just put it out there.
No one's sending you this.
Nah, we're not the bourbon junkies.
No.
Those guys get bottles sent. Nobody else does.
King of Kentucky?
They got a King of Kentucky sent to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Free of charge?
I believe so. They may have paid retail.
Well, I tell you what, that was a good dude.
That was a fan.
Yeah, that was a solid guy. All right, so Dustin, boy, I tell you what, this has just been a fan video for the most part. I feel like a Star Wars nerd. Not that I'm not a Star Wars nerd, but you know what I'm saying. All we're doing is gush over this the whole
I
time.
don't even want to talk about the taste anymore. Like, it's just, this is what bourbon's supposed to drink like.
This is what beautiful whiskey that you want to. If this is the last drink I ever have, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Let me put this another way. This is what new charred barrels should give to whiskey. This is everything you want from that. Spice, oak, leathers, vanillas, caramels, depth, richness, nuttiness, earthiness. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah,
I mean,
all
Mike,
that.
I wrote a review of this on distiller.com right when I first got it.
Mm-hmm.
I added water 6 times during that review, and I kept going back and bringing in new notes. And this thing just keeps taking water. It keeps developing. It keeps getting richer. There is layer upon layer. You guys can keep adding water to this thing until it gets boring, and you're still going to find stuff you're going, ooh. And you don't find that with most cask strength bourbons. You start bringing the proof down, and all of a sudden the awesomeness of that proof goes away because it wasn't good bourbon or great bourbon under the proof.
Buddy, this is the Ronnie Coleman of bourbons. The greatest ever. This was made with love.
It's Arnold, man. It's Arnold. Come
Yeah,
on.
Ronnie Coleman's the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Arnold's the most iconic bodybuilder of all time. Ronnie Coleman's the greatest bodybuilder of all time.
It's the biggest, maybe. I don't know if he's the biggest. Actually, Big Remy's probably bigger. But anyway,
Anyway,
let's not go there.
yeah, so where are you as far as whiskey score on this one?
94.
93.
I gave it 95 the first time I reviewed one of these. I think that was a little high. This is right there with the best Lagavulins, the best.
Mm-hmm.
This is right there with 1401. This is right there with everything we've had.
Top 10 whiskey I've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you prefer it if you had one choice, last drink you're ever going to have in your life? Lagavulin 24, King of Kentucky,
King of Kentucky.
Towser 25 cask strength,
King of Kentucky.
Kahlua 35.
King of Kentucky.
I disagree on Lagavulin 24, but the rest of them I'm right there with you.
And it is close with 24, but honestly, it's not that this is better whiskey than the 24. I just like this better.
There's nothing not to like about this whiskey.
I think if my last whiskey's gonna be a whiskey, it's gonna be bourbon. It's this, and I think bourbon might be where I'd want to go. Only if it can be this good.
I hope I get one bourbon, one scotch, and one beer. It'd be this, Lagavulin 24, and a Guinness.
Bourbon County Stout.
That's how I go out.
I throw a Bourbon County Stout.
Maybe a Sam Adams Boston Lager. I mean, it's not as iconic. I've had other good Sam Adams. I've had like 21 of them.
How about the Utopias? Have you had that?
Yeah, dude, I was a big Sam Adams fan back in the day.
I wish I could find those now. They're $250, but man, I'd like a bottle.
Ever had Black Lager?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a good one. Anyway, so that's where we're at. Another epic King Kentucky. This is the second of a 4-part series of the 2015 that we will bring you. Once again, this is Barrel 7, Rick 36, Warehouse K, Location 5. That's all on the back of this bad boy here. If you're a hardcore bourbon fan, you know what all that means. We're bringing more of these King Kentuckys. Dustin, until next time, what do we wish the folks?
Long live the king and happy drinking.
See you next time.